All right, guys, let's go ahead and start going over your transpiration assessment. So again, looking at question 1, using the word bank and the diagram on the left, identify the plant structures involved with transport. So looking at number 1 here. So number 1, guys, that's the roots. Okay. Number 2. Okay, so number 2 is pointing towards this little arrow right here, okay? That's transporting substances up from the roots to the plant, and that's going to be our xylem. And then looking at number 3 here, okay? So that's just kind of this whole structure in general right here. That is the stem of the plant. Looking at a number, let's skip to number 5. So looking at number 5 here, so that is this whole structure right here. That is our leaf. And then number 6 here, okay, so number 6 is representing that little hole in the leaf, representing that pore, which is our stomata. And then finally, looking at this structure 4, so this arrow representing this flow out of the leaf, that's going to represent our phloem. That's transporting that glucose to wherever that plant needs it. Okay, guys, so again, this is just simply identifying those structures on the plant. All right, looking at number 2 here, okay? So match the term from the word bank to its role in transport, okay? So the first one here, how I really like to approach these matching ones, guys, is I like to read my options first. So read these here and then identify ones that I know for sure and feel confident about. So this absorbs water and nutrients from the substrate. One of the questions I got here was well, what's substrate? Substrate is essentially a fancy term for soil or dirt. Okay, so substrate, so this is absorbing water from the soil. Okay, guys, so this is our roots, or A. Okay, so these are our roots. And then I read through and I find the ones that I, again, feel most confident about. So looking down at the bottom right here, so the structure of plants whose primary function is photosynthesis. We talked about this a lot. That's going to be B, our leaf. Okay. And what this does is it helps you kind of narrow down your answer options to the ones that, if you feel real confident about those ones first, you know what the leaf is and you know how to define a leaf and you know the roots. If there's a couple that you feel a little iffy on, you're less likely to accidentally select the wrong one for those, because you know that you feel confident that an option, this first one is roots and the last one is my leaves, and I feel very confident in that, and then it leaves less errors at the end. So this is looking at the second one from the bottom here. So pores found on the underside of leaves that allow for gas exchange. So that's C, our stomata. So our structure that contains the xylem and the phloem, that's F, or our stem. And then, so that leaves us with the xylem and phloem and what their functions are. So we've got our xylem, and an easy way to help you remember what the xylem's function is to think of our alphabet. So if you think about the order of letters, we've got W, X, Y, okay? and then it'll go over there. But here we have our xylem, okay, so WXY, and it transports our water. So again, it's found inside the stem, transports water from the roots to the rest of the plant. So this would be D, our xylem, and then leaving the phloem for E, which its function is to transport glucose. And an easy way to help you remember the function of the phloem is that PH makes a F sound, right? So phloem, and that F is for food, which is glucose. All right, let's move on to number 3 here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit just because, there we go. I guess that's okay. So we're going to describe the process of transpiration. So in looking at that, what we're really looking for are our 4 steps of transpiration, okay? So first we're looking, and really what we're looking for too is that the stomata are opening to take in carbon dioxide, subsequently losing water, okay? So if you could tell me that stomata open to take in CO2, resulting in water evaporating, you would have gotten this correct, but we're going to go over all 4 steps here. So again, our first step, so is stomata open to take in CO2 or carbon dioxide. The second thing that happens is water transpires. So transpires, again, is a fancy way to say evaporates from the stomata. And then our third thing here that happens is water loss from leaves pulls water up from the roots. And then finally, because water is being pulled up from the roots, that causes the roots to take in more soil, or not more soil, more water from the soil. Got a little ahead of myself there. All right, so again, we were looking for you to describe this process of transpiration. So really the big thing that we were looking for here, as far as like what we wanted you to tell us, was that the stomata are opening to take in carbon dioxide, and that causes water to evaporate from the stomata. If you could tell us that, then you would get this question correct. All right, let's look at question number 4 on the back side, or page 2 here. So a student has become lost in the desert and tied a plastic bag around a portion of the tree branch during the day to collect water. The student found that more water is collected in the bag on sunny days than at night. Describe the process that occurs in plants that allows the student to harvest more water during the day from the plant using this method. So again, they found the student who's stranded found that more water is collected in the bag on sunny days than at night. So what we were looking for you guys to know in so many words is that so because photosynthesis happens during the day, right, which is going to cause, and so those plants need to take in carbon dioxide, and they take that in during, okay, or through their stomata. They're going to take that in during the day while the sunlight is out. That's going to cause more water to evaporate out of the leaves during the day, or transpire out of the leaves during the day, because that's when photosynthesis happens, because it needs sunlight. Okay, so more transpiration will occur during the day because the plants will take in more, or what they'll do is they'll take in CO2 for photosynthesis during sunny days, because sunlight is a requirement for photosynthesis. So really, again, what we're looking for here, guys, is that more transpiration will occur during the day because the plants are going to take in CO2 for photosynthesis, which is going to result in more water transpiring or evaporating out of those leaves during those sunny days. And then finally, guys, number 5, so this Palo Verde tree pictured right are found in hot, dry climates like the deserts of Arizona. Describes some of the adaptations you would expect this tree to have to help it survive. I know for my students, I talked quite a bit about Palo Verde trees because they have a few very unique adaptations. So there was a couple different things that you guys could have listed for this. So the first would be small leaves, not leaves, small leaves. Okay, so small leaves, this is going to reduce water loss, okay, due to fewer stomata. Okay, so we're looking for something along those lines. Another one that you could have listed, and I know I talked to this specifically to my students, is they will have Palo Verde trees in particular. They have photosynthetic bark to make it so that they can produce enough glucose for their whole system. Okay. And that's really, again, to reduce water loss due to fewer stomata. Another one that you guys could have listed or talked about would be waxy leaves. So a waxy cuticles prevent water loss. Okay, so again, guys, like 1, 2, 3, we're all looking at, we got 3 different ways for this plant to reduce water loss. And then finally, looking at a 4th option here, you could have talked about having deep roots to access ground water sources. All right, guys, so again, goal here, we want you to get to this proficient, so explaining the relationship between transpiration and photosynthesis. Okay, so you need to get questions 1 through 4 right to get that proficient. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask us. All right, I hope that this is helpful for you guys. And then once you finish making your corrections, go ahead and start working on the relearning and practice portion of this worksheet.